Well, hello English 2 students. This is a recording for week number 4. Since we had to cancel class today, I didn't want to get behind, so I'm going to do my best to try to record a little video to walk you through what we would have covered in class today. So before we get started, let me tell you what you're going to need to make this most effective. You're going to need your word roots pages from lesson 7 and lesson 8. So that we can go over the roots and define your words. So that's the first thing we'll do. And then you'll also need your easy grammar book and open up to page 16 because we're going to talk about a few things on pages, on days 16 through 20. I'll do my best to try to get through this without hacking. So if you don't have those things in front of you, pause the video, go grab those, and then come back, okay? So we're going to jump right in. Lesson 7 on word roots. The new root this week is gen. Excuse me. It can have 3 different spellings. You'll notice in the little box up there. But the meaning or the definition is cause, birth, race, or produce. Okay. And I will let you review the prefixes and suffixes. I'm not going to take time to do that on the video. So let's jump down to our definitions. Okay. So our words are degenerative, regenerate, generate, generation, genealogy, genesis, generic, generous, gender, and engender. Okay, so for number 1, beginning or birth of something, the origin, that is Genesis. Okay, so for number 1, you should have Genesis. Number 2, to make new, to form again, means to regenerate. Okay. Again, pay attention to your prefixes and suffixes to help you figure these out. Number 3, to bring forth or to produce. Engender. Okay. Excuse me. Number 4, the science or study of family descent from their ancestors. This is genealogy. Okay. Number 5, of or causing a deadline in quality or strength. That's degenerative. Number 6, masculine or feminine identity, the formal classification by which nouns and pronouns are grouped, and that is gender. Okay. Number 7, produce, cause, or bring about. That means to generate. Okay. Number 8, of or relating to a whole group or class, and that's generic. Okay. Number 9, the process of formation or causation, and that's generation. And then number 10, free giving or overflowing, generous. Okay, again, those are your lesson 7 definitions. You're going to use those words to fill in the blanks on letter B, completing the sentences. Again, pay attention to what part of speech the sentence is looking for, and that will give you a clue as to which word to use, okay? So that's lesson 7. Let's move on to lesson 8. Sorry if I'm going through kind of quick. I just want to get through this, though, so you have it. All right. Again, lesson 8, we only have one root. It has 4 different spellings, though, there. You'll notice it can be G-R-A-C, it can be G-R-A-C-E with an E on the end, or it can be G-R-A-T, and then again, also with an E on the end. It means pleasing or thankful, okay? And again, pay attention, go back and review your prefixes and suffixes. Those will help you, okay? So our words for lesson 8 are gracious, gratis, grateful, grace, gratuity, gratify, graceful, gratification, congratulate, and gratitude. Okay, so let's figure out our definitions. Number 1, to express pleasure at another's success or good fortune is to congratulate. Okay. Number 2, a state of thankfulness, which is gratitude. Number 3, to give pleasure or to satisfy means to gratify. Number 4, having or showing kindness, courtesy, charm, etc. That means gracious. Number 5, a gift of money for a service rendered or a tip. That'd be known as gratuity. Number 6, without charge or free, known as gratis. Number 7, full of gratitude or thankful, grateful. Okay. Number 8, having the quality of being lovely and elegant, graceful. Number 9, beauty or charm of form, pleasing quality, grace. Number 10, pleasure, satisfaction, and that is gratification. Okay, sorry to breeze through those so quickly, but those are going to be your definitions again that you will use. So you're going to complete the sentence on the next page for homework using those words. Okay, so don't forget, besides doing your completing the sentences for word roots, you also have that review page, the lesson 7 and 8 review page with the matching of the prefixes and suffixes on the front, and then matching the definition to the derivatives on the back. Since we didn't have class today, we will have our quiz next week. So take some time this week to also go back and review those, review your review page. You should have it, it's the study guide number 1. So you have your definitions and then you have your derivatives. Again, you can take those right from your workbook, your homework assignments, okay? We will do that first thing in class next week. It shouldn't take us very long. It's just a matching and then writing a derivative for each root word, okay? All right. Go ahead and, excuse me a second. Go ahead and open, if you haven't already, your Easy Grammar to page 6, day 16. I just want to go over a few things. There was a lot I wanted to go over in class today, but I'm just going to touch on a few things. I'm going to trust that you are reading the bold explanations and directions under each category. So for each thing like capitalization, punctuation, parts of speech, each thing on each page, I'm hoping that you're taking the time to read those directions and look at the example before you just jump in, okay? So I'm not going to touch on any of the capitalizations. I'm going to trust you to read those. Same with the punctuation. I'm going to trust you to read those as well. There's nothing too crazy out of the ordinary, except on day 20. I would say that when you get to the punctuation, it says place the titles of short stories, poems, fables, nursery rhymes, articles, essays, units, chapters, etc. All those in quotation marks. You will find that depending on what format you're using when you get to college, if you're writing APA or MLA formats, sometimes that rule is different. Sometimes you actually italicize those instead of putting them in quotation marks. So just be aware of that. But for this exercise, you're going to put them in quotation marks, okay? So I just wanted to point that out. Then when you get down to parts of speech, on day 16, the past participle, we're going to talk a lot of, I'll touch more on this next week about explaining a little bit more about participles and how they work. And basically though, for this one, just remember that the past participle, the participle is the verb, okay, is formed by placing had in front of it. So the example they gave you is the verb is to eat. The past is ate, okay? I eat today, I ate yesterday. And then the past participle had eaten. Okay, so for the first one, to do, what would be your past example would be done. And then the next one, past participle, would be had done. Okay, so letter B, to say, past tense would be said. Past participle would be had said. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out real quick. Again, we'll talk more about participles next week. I actually have a handout for you and a worksheet that we can go through to kind of help solidify that because that's kind of sometimes can be a tricky concept. All right, the next one on day 16, subject verb. Remember, the subject tells who or what, the verb tells what is or what happened, okay, or what will happen. The subject of an imperative sentence is often the understood you. Remember we talked about that last week? So the example they give you, excuse me, is shake my hand. The subject of that sentence, we understand it as being you. You shake my hand. So it's the understood you, and that's why it's in parentheses, okay? So in this one, you're going to underline the subject once, underline the verb twice, and then you're going to label the direct object. So the direct object is whatever the verb is acting upon, okay? So like shake my hand, what's shaking? My hand. So the hand is the direct object. If the example were Ted took out the trash, Ted would be the subject, took out would be the verb or the predicate, and then the trash would be the direct object, okay? So that's that exercise. Then moving over to day 17, again, I'm not going to worry about the capitalization or punctuation on this page. You can read that. Analogies. Circle the word that best completes the analogy. Again, I had a whole worksheet and stuff for us to do on this. We'll touch on it again next week. But basically, you're going to determine how the first two words are related. So the example they give you is mundane to ordinary. And then you're going to figure out the same relationship between the next two words. So mundane and ordinary are synonyms. They mean the same thing or something similar. If something is mundane, it's ordinary. So redundant is the next word. Which of the words in the blank, that you have to choose from A, B, C, or D, means something similar to redundant? Okay, and that's going to be your choice. So another example of that might be joy is to sorrow, those are opposites, as excited is to bored or aloof, okay? You got to figure out what the relationship is. Again, we'll talk about that again some more next week. Again, you have some more participle practice there. This time you're going to, what does it tell you to do? Write a square if words from a prepositional phrase, a diamond if it's a participle phrase, and a circle if it's a participle phrase past. Okay, so remember, excuse me, your clue, prepositional phrases are going to start with a preposition. So be looking for a preposition. That will give you a clue. And then you're just going to have to decide, is it present or is it a participle phrase, past participle, okay? So if it's prepositional, it'll start with a preposition. Is it past or present? And that's how you'll decide, okay? And again, we'll talk more about participles next week. Next page, day 18. Again, capitalization, punctuation, pretty straightforward. Prepositions, parts of speech. You're going to be looking for the prepositional phrases, crossing them out, and they gave you a little list there of all the prepositions. There are others, but these will be the ones that you'll need for this exercise. And then you're going to underline the subject once and the verb phrase twice. Okay, pretty straightforward. Getting down to nouns down here. A concrete noun is composed of atoms. So think of concrete nouns as something you can see or touch or taste or feel. Abstract is not. It's just what it means, abstract. It's not something you can see. A lot of times it's an emotion or a character trait or a feeling. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. Day 19, again, pretty straightforward. We get to parts of speech, adverbs. Remember, adverbs that tell when or where usually modify a verb, okay? So, excuse me. Just pay attention to that when you're doing that exercise. Again, participles. And then on day 20, nouns. Pay attention to whether or not it is singular or plural and read the little explanation there. It should help you. And then phrases and clauses. Remember, phrase does not necessarily have a subject and a verb. A clause must have a subject and a verb. So if you read your example and it doesn't have a subject or verb, you know it's a phrase. If it does have both, then you know it's a clause, okay? So that is my quick and speedy explanation for what we were going to cover this week. Go ahead and proceed with your homework, lessons 7 and 8 in word roots, days 16 through 20 in easy grammar, and I will see you all next week. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.